Welcome to Bods, Crabcakes, and Sports, where husky middle-aged men share insight on the latest Baltimore sports news. From the bank to the yard and beyond, we're breaking down the Ravens, Orioles, Terps, and more. Baltimore's best sports podcast starts right now.
Good evening and welcome to Bods, Crabcakes, and Sports. Mike and Jason here this evening on a special edition of Bods, Crabcakes, and Sports. The Orioles made another free agent signing, or actually probably their first free agent signing, but their third move already, or fourth move already of the all season. Pretty aggressive, pretty good so far. But they signed Ryan Helsley. But before we get into all of that, Mike, I want to know how your special Thanksgiving was with your house guest, Mr. John Lanscraner.
Yeah, it was nice to have John in from sunny Florida. He had a little bit of trouble adjusting to the temperature. I'm glad I told him to pack a pair of long pants. He almost didn't, but he found out very quickly, not on Wednesday, but on Thursday on Thanksgiving, it was well below 40 degrees for a long time here in Baltimore. We went to a turkey trot to run, and he was in Bel Air with us, and he was bundled up like a nanook. So I think we had dinner was good. I think he missed the warmth of sunny Florida, but I think all in all a very good trip to Baltimore, though very short.
Oh, cold. That sounds cold. It was in the yesterday got down into the mid 50s here at night, and again today was at 80. So we have our little cold spurt for like 8-9 hours, and then we're back to sunny, warm Florida,
Yeah,
which
I,
we're
I
all
had a
signed up
short
for.
window of afternoon today where it was like 42, where I got to go and put up the Christmas lights. So I
Oh
had to
God.
climb the old 30-foot ladder because I was just going to do the garage over the garage, and then Cecilia gave me like the puppy dog eyes. I was like, I really missed those lights, that went all the way across the house. So I had to call Mr. Mitch and borrow the 30-foot ladder and do the old up and down and slide and climb. And Julie's always like, "You're gonna fall down and kill yourself," kind of
Hmm.
thing. And but it's well worth it to see her happy. And the lights all worked. I had to throw out lights from last year. I don't know if you have this problem, but every year I feel like there's a strand of lights that doesn't work, and then they don't match, and then you got to go buy 3 more boxes. And so I did that at Walmart, and then finally got all the lights up. But
Right. So we actually, my issue is like we have a fake Christmas tree mainly because being down here in Florida, I don't want to depend on whatever they have and whatnot. So we have a fake tree, but every year we forget how we connected the lights and like the A to the B to the C to get it. So we always end up just buying this other strand of lights. So I took all the lights down off of the tree from last year because we couldn't get it connected, and we started over and we put these other ones, and then we plugged in the ones I took off. They worked just fine. I'm like, oh, good. So and then we put those back up. See, it's terrific. I love every
there's
second of it.
always
Let
an
me tell you.
electrical like faux pas going on. Like I have a couple of floodlights on some trees out front. I make Snoopy on the doghouse on my wishing well. I always have like a wooden cutout there, and then we do bush lights and lights over the house. But like I have all these different extension cords, and I think the first year I made little notes on like note cards and like tied them up, and now it's just chaos. I'm just trying to like move things around and mix and match because some plugs have 2 prongs, some have 3. You got to turn. I need 3 outlets going this way. I need 2 going that way. It's very Clark Griswold for at least a day at my house.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that. I love that movie. I can picture you doing it. Fantastic. Well, I'm glad it's everything you dreamed of and more. Okay, so again, the reason why we are on is the Baltimore Orioles found their closer. They went out on the market and they got Ryan Helsley, former Cardinal and former New York Met. And Mike, you and I actually, I want to say during the trade deadline the last couple years, we're actually clamoring for not this past, but 2 years before, for Ryan Helsley and the Orioles bring him in to help out with the bullpen. So for me, it was, I'm glad I feel like they went out and they had a couple guys or at least one guy in mind. They isolated on him and they chose them. And when they picked him, they were able to get the a guy that's going to fill in for this year and possibly also next year in case Felix isn't back. But at least you have your guy, 2 years, $14 million a year. For me, I'm very satisfied with the move. I mean, could they have gone out and got a Devin Williams? Diaz, sure. I think the price was right too, which might allow them to be more flexible going forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. It's basically the price point is what worked for the Orioles. I feel like with Helsley, I think with Williams and the way that other teams probably view him the same way the Orioles do, as someone who had trouble in New York, but the track record. I mean, the guy is nasty. He's one of the best strikeout guys in baseball. His K rate is 15 per 9 innings. I mean, you don't find a closer like that. I mean, Diaz is 14. Those are both top end closers. The Orioles, I don't think, wanted to shop in the 20 million plus market for a closer. So to get Helsley, a guy who's just below that probably at 14 per year, is nice. The concern, I guess, is if he pitches really well this year, he has an opt out in the second year. So it's quite possible if he has a great year and the Orioles do really well, we might be searching again. Obviously Felix's health is part of that equation as well. But I think the Orioles are factoring all that in this signing. But I think that's why he makes a lot of sense, because we might have somebody then beyond that.
And just because he opts out doesn't mean that they can't sign him back, right? If Felix ends up finding out that Felix's career might be over. I mean, he is 31 years old, right? So ideally, you don't want to throw a ton of money, a ton of years at somebody who's 31, although closers kind of last a little longer than starters. But with me, it's always been like the bullpen. I really think you do want that solid closer. You can see what Felix has done for this team over the years when he was healthy. But you can piece that bullpen. I mean, no one knew who Felix was. You know what? Before he got to where he was, I do see them bringing in another a high leverage arm as well. I guess my real question for you though, Mike, the other night we've been texting back and forth. Obviously, like I said, you're like hanging on the ledge with the Ravens, but you're also hanging on the ledge with the Orioles. You're losing faith. I mean, and again, I have all the text message receipts that you have sent me of how scared you are and your thoughts. Here, let me find, just so that I can share these with everyone. Here's one. I need a man who will take a chance on a love that burned. No, wait, that was a different one. No, sorry,
That's
that was back a couple years ago. Hold on one second.
You're so close.
I want to dress up in a tutu like a pretty little princess. Oh, that was during your confused. You're figuring yourself out of college.
That was COVID. No, that was COVID, I think.
COVID. Got it.
Yeah,
see, these text messages go back so long. I'm glad I could but they're all the way back from once we've owned cell phones. This is terrific. So big fan. But no. In all fairness, I could sense your frustration, your impatience, if you will. You're a very patient person, but then when it comes to the Orioles, and Ravens, I don't believe you are. No. But that might be a little secret of yours. I just told all 300, 400 of our listeners, however many we have.
No secret. Nope.
But that's okay. I'm here to be your voice of reason. I'm here to be your therapist while you lay on the couch. I'm willing to be more patient. Just because I'm really standing behind this, I refuse to accept the same old Orioles mantra, because this seems very different this year for me. It seems like they know they have to make an impact, and they have a list of what they want to do. And this is the other reason, according to Major League Baseball reporters and people out there, it's no secret the Orioles have already been very aggressive and plan to stay very aggressive throughout this spring training, free agency.
Yeah, I don't know. I will continue to be cautiously optimistic, because I feel like they're at least being active this year. In previous years, there was a lot of talk and not a lot of action. So for me to actually see some things happening is encouraging. I do think, though, if you take a step back and look at it, they aren't going out to get these giant fish. I mean, they're not Taylor. The Ward trade is a good trade. He's a solid bat. He's not that Pete Alonso bat. He's not Kyle Schwarber. He's not any of those guys, but he's still a good baseball player. But they're still doing Oriole things. I mean, I think Helsley's a good closer. He's not the best of the bunch, though. He's not. But I'm not saying you can't win with these guys because we have a good core in place. But I'm still saying that it still seems very Oriole-esque. It doesn't seem like we're going in really changing directions hugely, but it does seem like we understand that we can't stay pat with what we had last year because this team, if you run it back, isn't going to win as many games. You have to change and improve your squad, which that is the most encouraging thing is they're actually looking to improve. But I think they're not going all in. They're talking all in, but I haven't seen all in. So, Jason, until I see a blockbuster move, a trade for somebody who is of great significance, like a starting pitcher who's in the top 3 of your rotation, or a bat that is in the middle of my lineup, like a power hitting number 4 hitter, or a on base guy. Like I know Taylor Ward is there, and I think you could probably make an argument that he's not a stud though to me. I don't know. Maybe you can talk me off the ledge again and tell me he is.
Well, I have answers for a lot of that. Number one, and I said this a couple of weeks ago, that I think the Taylor Ward thing kind of fell in their laps because when they looked at the market, there isn't a right-handed power hitting outfielder in free agency. There isn't. Like Harrison Bader is the only right-handed hitting outfielder that would even be at the top of anyone's list, right? They're all left-handed, and they needed to fill an outfield spot. And they thought they needed to do it. They're all left-handed on the team, right? I mean, I guess Tyler O'Neill, but he's probably going to DH, or they're going to try to get someone to take his contract. If we're being honest, I don't know if that happens, and I don't have any like no one told me that's what they're trying to do. It just seems like it would make a lot of sense for what they would want to do. Get out from underneath that contract. However, so for me, and then Taylor Ward each year has progressed to a certain point, and he did it in an Angels lineup that wasn't all that impressive. I mean, I think the Orioles lineup, when healthy, with Gunnar and Westberg and Adley, if Adley's back to normal, and Holiday, these guys that are towards the top of the lineup they'll all protect each other. And I think you could expect those numbers are even better. I don't know if you get another 35 homers, but what if you get 270 with 30 homers and 100 RBIs? I'll take that any day. So to me,
was Ward in a lineup with Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani at some point in time, though?
Shohei Ohtani hasn't been there for 2 years, and so I don't want to really judge Ward on 3 years ago's numbers when each year, like, he's progressed, right? But I would say Mike Trout's been in and out of that lineup for the last 3 years. Like, did he play 100 games last year? Joe Adell was the Angels' best hitter last year besides Taylor Ward. And Joe Adell hit 39 home runs, I think, something like that. And he still batted 220 or 230, whatever it was. So the other thing is, though, Mike, nobody else has made a big splash really yet either. You could call the Blue Jays a big splash. I will call it a big splash. It's an overpay for darn sure. If you look at the guys, I thought Cease was my number 1 guy this year, right? When you take a look at the numbers, he got $210 million over 7 years with a 4.50 or whatever ERA last year. Yes, they bought him in on potential, pardon me, and stuff. And that's fine. Maybe they'll figure it out for him. And I get that, right? But that's the only move, Mike, so far this offseason in a free agent signing, right? So I just think we're slow playing this thing. And I think the Orioles have just as much chance as anyone else because it sounds like everybody's waiting till these dominoes fall. The number 1 pitcher's off the board, arguably, right? The number 1 closer, well, not the number 1 closer, but the first closer is off the board. I think things start to pick up now. That's just kind of how this all works. If you remember last year when they signed Tyler O'Neill and they signed Hernandez, catcher, it was the night before the winter meetings. So there is a chance here that within the next week things start to get a little more jockeying for position, if you will.
Yeah, winter meetings start not this week, but the following week. And so that's when things start to really ramp up in Major League Baseball. I guess I'm happy with the moves. Like I said, I think I would have been ecstatic if I had heard Devin Williams. I think I would have been ecstatic if I heard Edwin Diaz. And some of that's just star value. And some of that is just, because, if you're looking at the comparison, Diaz and Devin Williams, just their stuff is that much better. They're just strikeout pitchers. Now, Helsley's very good. Like he throws 99 miles per hour. I mean, he's gonna make a lot of people miss. But he's gonna, he's not the caliber of closer of what Williams was in Milwaukee, and what you see out of Edwin Diaz in New York. So I'm happy, but I still would like to see them really reach for the stars at some point.
Right. But see, if it's between this, Mike, like I would much rather see them reach for the stars on a bat and another starting pitcher, right? Like for me. But again, taking a look at these starting pitchers, and you and I have gone back and forth with this. I mean, I'm not interested in giving 7 years to anyone on this free agent list, especially any of the guys that are now left, mainly because of age, and also because it doesn't, for me, it's like no one stands out worth it. Like even Valdez, he had like a 3.8 ERA last year. I mean, I think the best pitcher left on the market, if we're being honest, is probably Michael King, stuff wise. I think he's 31 or whatnot. If they want to give 5 years to either one of those pitchers, I'd be perfectly fine with it. And I think that is actually what you will see until this starts. I mean, I think they were projecting Valdez to be 5 years at 150. Sure, that's fine. I mean, it's not, but if you expect him to come in and be your ace, he's not going to be your ace. I think Bradish is better than him. I think that, well, Rogers better than all of them if we're going on like last year's numbers, right? So for me, if you have Bradish, Rogers, Valdez, or Bradish, Rogers, King, and then you put in, maybe they bring in Zach Gallen to go on the back end there. I still think he'll get top three money. So if they want to make a splash and bring in two of those guys or one of the Japanese guys and either Valdez or King, that would be pitching wise what I would be interested in most, Mike.
Yeah, I guess my biggest concern is when they're in that process of trying to, if I am a Michael King or I am a Framber Valdez and the Orioles offer me, let's say, like you said, 5 years, 150, but another team's willing to go 7 at, and maybe it's 28 a year or something like that. Like the Orioles have made it known, and they just won't go that extra. They will not add those years on. And I think it's going to cost us. I don't know that we'll be able to sign any of those guys because there's always someone else willing to go. And it's usually, obviously, Yankees, Dodgers, Red Sox, Mets that are willing to take it and eat it, even though it doesn't make much sense if you were going to ask those organizations probably, but they don't care because they want to win. I don't think the Orioles will do that. And that's why I worry that they don't get one of those guys. I don't think that they are then going to just stop and not do anything. I think they just then go to the trade market and they pivot there, and then they try to find something like they did with Corbin Burns. But that to me seems more Oriole-esque. If they sign one of those guys, I'll be surprised, but I'll be elated.
I will actually be surprised if they do not sign one of the top guys, either pitching wise, or I know the Kyle Schwarber thing's been thrown around. I mean, to me, that would be great. The only issue with that, Mike, is I don't know if you can get upset. Not you, but if we can get upset if he goes back to Philadelphia and we missed out on him. To me, that's just like, I think there's a comfortability thing. He wants to win with his guys. Like, I mean, everything I've read on him is just so great in the clubhouse. Now, if we miss out on him and he goes to Boston, or we miss out on him and he goes to Cincinnati, where he's from, stuff like that, that would upset me, I think, more. But like the Corbin Burns thing didn't upset me last year that he went to Arizona. I mean, he just had twins. He's got 4 kids under the age of 4. Dude, come on. So, yeah, but it goes back to what I've been saying since we started this podcast back in January or whatever last year. You have to be able to compete with the big guys with signing these guys. You have to be able to say, look, I don't know if we're going to win a World Series, but you're probably the missing piece to getting us towards there. So what do you need to come here? And if it's a difference of going 5 or 6 years, I can see it. I just don't know if they will ever go 7 years. Now, if it was 7 years for Corbin Burns last year, maybe. I mean, dude, let's just take a step back on this Cease thing, though. He got a freaking Max Fried contract. He's not on the same level as Max Fried. So I'm not upset that Toronto did it. Like, I mean, that we missed out on him. I'm really not. I know, and I don't think you're upset we missed out on him. You just want them to be players and you want them to get it. Am I right?
That's correct. And if they miss out, sometimes I understand it. I just want to see them. I want to see them reach once in a while. I just think they're trigger shy based on some things that have happened in the organization in the past. The nice thing is, the Angelos regime is gone. It's a new ownership. So that slate should be pretty clean, you would think. So that to me is encouraging. And then I can't really judge until we see them for a few years if they really have changed their stripes or not. So I'm not saying they haven't. I'm just saying I want to see it. That's the biggest complaint I would have. And I do agree with you, Jason. These guys who are all good, Valdez, King, they're all 30, 31 years old. Like, if you're giving them a 7-year contract, there's no way in reality you expect them to do anything, even a semblance of what they are currently in the last 3 years of that deal, because you're talking about 35, 36, 37. Now, it's not impossible. You see Verlander and Scherzer and some of these guys later in their career still pitch very well, but they aren't what they were in their prime either. Let's not kid anybody. They are not prime Scherzer, prime Verlander, who's ace locking down the staff in the playoffs, but they are still serviceable. That's the best you can ask for from a Michael King at age 37 or a Framber Valdez at age 36.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's tough with Scherzer and Verlander because they're Hall of Famers, right? And I mean, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I don't think any of these guys on the market right now are Hall of Famers. I think Michael King is the most intriguing pitcher to me. The only thing that I think would turn the Orioles off would be his injury concerns last year. And I don't know how much that plays into it. I mean, maybe this is a 3-year with a buyout option or something. And oh, by the way, maybe you should consider extending Trevor Rogers while you're at it. Like, that should also be in play here. Unless the one thing I don't want to get too far above over my head here is I think that the Orioles do a really good job of being able to identify the type of pitchers that they want, that they can work with. A 35-year-old Shigano to me and a 40-year-old Morton, they don't count because they're not going to change their stripes. They've already been doing it for so long, right? But guys that are still within that age, like Trevor Rogers, they clearly were like, yep, we can fix that. We can add this. Helsley, oh my gosh. Yeah, we saw what he did in New York. He was terrible, but this is why. What if he did this? He only throws his fastball and his slider and works in a curveball. What if he threw this? What if he now throws a splitter? Or you know what I mean? Certain organizations, and I think the Orioles, I put them up top for being able to work with pitchers that way. Now, are they miracle workers? Of course not. But for me, Mike, that's why I'm not too bent out of shape about Helsley. He's not one of the top 3 closers on the market. Is he a top 5? I think so. But is he the best? He could be this year. He could be the best closer that signs this year. It could be Devin Williams. It could be Diaz. It's too early to tell.
No, I agree. And I think you talk extension with Trevor Rogers. Obviously, that would be an amazing thing. I think maybe if I'm the Orioles, I wait to see how all this free agency stuff hashes out before I consider what my long-term plan is. Just, if you do get one of those guys locked in for 5 or 6 years, that Rogers extension isn't quite as pressing as if you miss out on one of those guys and then you have a 1-year rental that you trade for. So I think some of that's going to dictate where they go with extensions. And obviously there's more to it than that, right? We have these guys like Gunnar and Adley or whoever we want to lock up but can't because of their agents, and we know they're pressing free agency. So some of that's not on our side. It's just on the side of the player as well. And so if Trevor Rogers comes out, lights out to start this half of the year, his agent might be pushing him to go to free agency eventually as well too. So there's a lot of factors that go into that. As far as our bullpen and Helsley, you now have Helsley and Kittredge towards the back end of your bullpen. I would say we need another lefty somewhere in there. I would think, Jason. I know Dietrich Enns had a decent end of the year as they brought him in kind of off the scrap heap. And they have Keegan Aiken in there, but I don't think he's a high leverage guy on a good team. So to me, where do you think they turn to for a lefty?
How about a reunion with Soto? It's a possibility. I know Connor was talking about it on Locked on Orioles. You know what I don't want? Guys with high walk rates. And I think you have to try to find guys that throw strikes above all else. I mean, there's a couple guys out there that were intriguing. I'm trying to remember who else he had mentioned. But it's I mean, there's also some guys down on the farm too. I mean, some guys they got back in this trade. Well, all these trades over the summer. The bullpen for me is really I do want one more high leverage guy because I think you now he's not a lefty answer, but Cano then goes into the fifth inning, the sixth inning, maybe the seventh inning if need be, but you're not then relying on him in the big innings, right? But he could be very valuable for you. As far as lefties go, I don't know. I mean, Soto's the one name I was thinking of, and I can't think of the other guy off the top of my head. It's perfect podcasting, I know. But
that's all good.
See if I can.
I think Danny Colomb to me is a guy that I would at least consider.
That's the other one.
I mean, he's a guy I think who really showed well again in Minnesota last year, and the Orioles. He's older. He's 36, I think. He's an older guy, but for somebody in the back end of the bullpen, I think he would be a decent choice.
That's the one part, though, Mike, that I really have faith that they'll be able to put together is the bullpen. I'm really not too nervous about it, and I really wish that because I still think they need another bat. They need another impact bat. They don't necessarily need a guy that's going to hit 30 home runs or 50 in Schwarber, but they need another bat. Somebody, I don't think it's your guy from San Diego, unfortunately, because I don't think he fits in positional wise for them. But again, and if they do bring in a bat, Mike, somebody's got to go. And what is that? You know what I mean? At least I think they need to go, or at least that means that Beavers is your fourth outfielder. And then he earns his spot into everyday playing time. And maybe Colton Cowser doesn't start the year off as well as he did last year, the first 2 games he played or whatever it was. But yeah, I don't know. I seem to think, like with reading everything, that they're still interested in a bat. But I could also see reading between the lines, and John said it earlier today when in our text message group, when he's like, yeah, I'll be happy when they sign a bat. Well, everyone out there, prepare yourselves because there's a good chance they may not get an impact bat. I do think they need one, but there's a good chance, Mike, that they don't sign one. And that would be disappointing to me.
Well, I mean, they might consider that Taylor Ward is the impact bat, and they might just go with that. I mean, to me, Taylor Ward isn't, I don't know. I think he's an upgrade to what we had last year, but he's not scaring you to death in the middle of that lineup. Whereas if you put a Pete Alonso in there and Gunners in front of him, you got to be super careful. That's all I know. Navigating that, especially with the lefty righty aspect of that, I feel like how awesome would that lineup be? It just, to me, it's that dependable strikes fear in your heart kind of bat versus the good. That's a good bat. And that's the difference. And Schwarber's that same guy. Alonso's that guy. Even Bellinger can be that guy, I believe, in the lineup. But I don't think Ward is at that level. But I don't disagree with you, Jason, that they might consider that the move. And then they might try to spend all of their time and effort in the pitching area. And I don't know. Do you think that the Helsley signing precludes them from signing any other of these big name relievers? Or do you think there's still a chance they might try to double down on one of those guys?
So I was thinking that before, that if you decide on your closer, then you could go out and add Fairbanks because I think he's going to be on the cheaper end as well. And then he's your 8th inning guy. Clearly, Helsley, something didn't go well for him last year when he was asked to be a setup guy. I mean, these guys are rare breed, right? These closers, starters are the same way, but closers are this rare breed where it's like they like to be, and baseball players are routine oriented. They want to know their role and they want to do that. Now, playoffs, all hands on deck, right? Doesn't matter. But regular season, they are creatures of habit and they want to know their roles. And by trading a guy, bringing him over, and now all of a sudden you're a setup man, that could have messed with him. Maybe it did. Maybe it didn't. But so bringing in a Fairbanks or bringing in a Robert Suarez, somebody like that, and Hat's telling them they're going to pitch the eighth inning or whatnot, I'm not so sure. But you saw the Royals did that last year. They brought in 2 closers. The Padres have like 4 closers on their team. They had Suarez, they had Mason Miller, and they had Adams from Tampa. So it's like it works. So right player, right price, I think. Or you just go out and you get like is it Taylor Rogers?
Taylor
Pitcher
Rogers is a
that's
lefty, or Finnegan maybe. Like you said, Kansas City had him, and he might
Finnegan's
be
not a
another guy you
closer
could
in
look
my
at as
eyes.
like.
Right.
I mean, he's pitched high
Rogers, dude,
leverage
for
in the
sure.
back end. And then to me, the other question mark is, Jason, it's like, maybe do they wait a little bit on that second guy just because what are they doing with their starters? Can Tyler Wells go to the back end of your bullpen? Like, I think some of that the dominoes need to fall a little bit before they decide, hey, like, we really need this extra arm. Because like you said, they're able to find relief pitchers. I'm not super concerned about it, but obviously the more you have, the better. And I think maybe they play the waiting game on signing another at least strong reliever in the free agent market.
Yeah, I mean, I think to me that I could see them getting more than one high leverage guy. It's just a matter of how the chips fall, right? You, I think you're right with that. It's because you're talking. There's a lot of guys that just aren't going to sign till other people sign. So, and I think that's where we're at right now with hitters. I think that's where we're at um, with some of the starters. They just want to make sure they're getting the right amount of money that they want. Their agents are telling them, "Hold up, we can get something better." So I don't think there's a hurry there. I think it was important to go out, identify the guy you want. I really hope that we don't find out down the road, and it's the Orioles, so we'll never know. But like this was their 5th closer choice, right? I don't think it was. I think he was at the top. He was up there. And I mean, if we're talking just a couple years ago, stud, 47 saves, strikeout rate, great. You want a guy that missed bats, he can miss bats. And again, I have confidence that he'll be able to tweak some things. But as far as working the bullpen, Kittredge ends, Keegan Aiken, my goodness. I mean, you have a new coaching staff now, new pitching or same pitching coach, but new coaching staff. So this could mean, Mike, that they go in there and say, you know what, we're going to make Keegan Aiken compete and we'll see what happens. And they might not be counting him in because just a couple years ago, he earned one of the last spots on the roster, and look at him. So I don't know. I would like upgrades as far as that goes, though.
And there's Yanir Cano, who obviously has been slowly on the decline, but there was something in there at some point, maybe a little competition, a little challenge, a little tweak somewhere here or there, and he can get back to maybe at least some semblance of the form he had a few years ago when he was an all-star. So I don't know that he is someone you can depend on, but he's somebody that could compete for one of those bullpen spots. And hopefully some of these younger arms that they've acquired in some of these trades and things like that can come up and be somebody we at least take a look at to pitch an inning here or there, or maybe to be that long-term guy who can pitch an inning or two in a tough game and starters out in 4 or 5 innings.
I also think it's important, Mike, and we haven't really talked much about this, but that they look at who their utility infielder is going to be / outfielder. I mean, is it Jeremiah Jackson? Because hitting wise, he did great when he was up here. But as far as a guy that can play 2 or 3 different positions and you don't lose a whole lot, like Ramon Urias is out there again. If they really wanted to go back down that road again, they could. He's afraid, and he was released by Houston. He was terrible for them. But there are other options out there. And so I would look, but here's where I get like, I don't want Oriole fans to get too upset. Their next signing could be a utility infielder or utility outfielder. It's okay. It's okay. Everyone be patient. Michael, be patient. They're not done yet. I really don't think they're done yet. But it's a long list in my mind still. You got to rebuild the bullpen. I think you need 2 starters. I think you need 1 impact bat, and then you got to figure out your utility spots as well.
Well, the guy that got in the Alex Jackson trade, Peyton Elis, he's somebody who profiles as a potential utility man. I know that Connor talked about it in one of the Locked On Orioles episodes I was listening to. How he is somebody who can play almost every position. So defensively, he could help you there, and then he hit until he got hurt a couple years ago, and then kind of tapered off from there. But it's in there somewhere if he can get a full healthy spring training, there is a possibility he can compete for that utility spot. I kind of think that they're going to let that spot settle for a while and kind of see what comes out of it rather than signing somebody. But again, they could, it's a utility infielder spot. There's probably guys out there who are just as good they could find on a free agent market.
I mean, Laureano was one of their last signings last year, and he was arguably one of their most effective players. If it wasn't for Trevor Rogers, you could have probably made a case for him for Oriole MVP if he would have stuck around the whole year. Ironically enough. So, I mean, there's still, in my mind, there's a lot of work left to do as far as getting the closer that we knew was important to do. Everyone may not agree that it's the right one, but that's okay. But that's a big box to check off as far as I'm concerned. And I'm hoping over the next couple of days we'll be back on here talking about the next big move that they made. And I don't have a problem with them trying to jump early before everyone else starts getting their ducks in a row, right? Why'd you sign 2 players before the winter meetings last year? And I know Major League Baseball hates it because they want this big thing to happen. I don't care. I want whatever edge I can get. So just go out and again, and it's not even necessarily about signing the players that Jason wants and signing the players that Mike wants or signing the players that all these fans out there are all upset about that we don't sign. It's who do they identify is making their team better? And I feel like the Tyler O'Neill thing last year was just I mean, what did they do? I mean, they capitalized on a 33 or 34 home run guy. Okay, I get it. Maybe he does that again this year, and then we're all like, oh, well, then there you have it. So I don't know, Mike. I don't know. I'm intrigued. I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm less. I'm not really the cautiously optimistic person for this thing. I'm with you though. I don't blame you. I could eat all my words, and I could be pissed off in a couple weeks when we sign Shigano back, and we have Dustin May as our number 3 starter.
Yeah, that would be very disappointing. That would be bad. I wouldn't like that. I think you just proceed, and like you said, the jump start is big because it allows you to focus your time and energy and effort into different areas where if you are spread so thin because you're working so many different angles and so many different positions, I think for them, their scouts, the Orioles, the front office, they can now settle in here and really look for a bat or really look for a starting pitcher and not have to worry about all the different permutations. If I get this guy, then what about relieving? If I get a starter, then what about the bat? And like now you have a couple guys that are here, you can really start to see the picture come together a little bit better and helps you to focus on the guys you really need to focus on to get next. So I think it's like a puzzle that's slowly coming together. And the more pieces of the puzzle you have early on, it's easy to see what pieces will or won't fit, moving beyond that. So to me, again, like you said, it doesn't necessarily matter who we want, but as long as they're getting who they want and we're able to build around that and make the team better, I think that's the most important thing. But I do want Pete Alonso. I just want to make a shameless plug, Pete Alonso.
And I think I want Kyle Schwarber. I mean, I think Bellinger's probably better long-term for them because he can play multiple positions. He's a former MVP, obviously. But Kyle Schwarber, I think that's the kind of move that changes you from contender to champion. Just that type of mentality. He's done it. He has a ring. Played on the Boston team that was good. Won a ring with the Cubs. He went to the World Series again with the Phillies. Like it can be. I mean that could do it for you. But again, I'm not convinced he's leaving Philly. I wouldn't let him leave if I was those guys. But one other thing I wanted to touch on and this is kind of why I can foresee another move. or whatnot, they cannot, in good conscience, put in the lineup Dylan Beavers, Samuel Basayo, and Kobe Mayo. Because right now, the way that things are going, those three are in your lineup right now. When the Orioles were competing for the division and whatnot, they had they would bring up players one at a time. So they'd bring up Gunnar Henderson, right? When you had all these guys around him that were performing. But you didn't bring up Gunnar Henderson and Colton Cowser at the same time because you know these guys are going to struggle early. So let's just say that's fine. They got seasoning last year. They're rookies still this year, in my mind. All three of them. So I'm not sure, Mike, that they feel comfortable because I don't feel comfortable with them having those three in your starting lineup. I could actually see one of them going back to Norfolk if they make any more signings. If not, Beavers is your fourth outfielder who might end up being one of your starters if one of those guys don't perform. Same situation with Mayo, Basayo, and then injuries have to be taken into account as well.
I mean, I just think about the mentality, and some of these guys are above it, but like it's way easier to be a fourth outfielder with lower expectations and then come and then overperform your expectations as Dylan Beaver than to be inked in as your everyday left fielder and have that pressure and then start off poorly and then the pressure just mounts and then you're trying to make adjustments at the big league level and it's hard, and I think it just snowballs sometimes. But when you have a lineup around you of solid players and you are just another guy and you're not expected to be that, then that's when you a lot of times see these guys take off. And obviously a lot of it has to do with how well they're performing at the time when they're called up too. But I think, to me, you also have Mountcastle. Don't forget that. So Mayo not necessarily in your lineup every day currently as it is projected. But I see what you're saying. I don't know that Mountcastle is long in the tooth for Orioles. And then Basayo, to me, of all of them, I think he's the most sure thing. I just think, and obviously the Orioles think that too. That's why they gave him so much money. But I think he has a lot of tools. And for me, he's the one that I'm not as worried about.
Well, I think from day one, he's in your lineup every day except for catching / rest days, right? He's in there all the time. It then comes down to the other two. And the only one, I agree with everything you just said about the pressure being off, except for Kobe Mayo, because I don't know how he'll handle being sent down again. Because he's honestly going to say, well, what else can I prove down there? There's really nothing else. So maybe you guys should trade me. Something along those lines. And I mean, do I think he has the right to say that? Absolutely not. You haven't done anything in Major League Baseball yet. Calm down there. Like, everyone, slow down. But because if you remember a couple years ago, he wasn't too happy that he got sent back down. He thought he did enough in spring training, which he might have. But this is a team that hopefully by come spring training is ready to win now. So if that's going to be the case, and they've done enough to do that, all those guys can't be in the lineup at one time. Now, Dylan Beavers can be the fourth outfielder. That's perfect. But I'm not so sure you can have. But then I was also impressed by Mayo's September that he had, which was also very big, like August / September. So I don't know. We'll be able to see more as that goes. So what is your prediction, Mike? Give me a prediction. How many more players, let's just say impact players, how many starters do they sign? Do they sign a bat? And what do you think they do with the bullpen? Any more impactful type moves?
Yeah, and real quick before I hit that, I just think how great is it if you sign somebody like an impact bat, like a Schwarber or a Bellinger, and then let Beavers be in AAA, and if somebody gets hurt, call him like that. To me, then you're looking at a World Series contending type team. Like if he's your everyday starter penciled in from the beginning, yeah, it just doesn't feel the same way. But to me, what I think the Orioles are going to do, I would say I'm hopeful that they at least trade for a solid starter. I don't know if they'll sign a free agent starter, but I think they're going to get at least one top 3 starter. And then I think they might sign like a back end guy. They might do it that way.
Don't say Dustin May. Don't say Dustin May.
I mean, I don't want it to be Dustin May, but it could be somebody along the lines of that caliber of pitcher, like a Bassett or I mean, to me, that seems like the MO of the Orioles. I hate it, but it's probably the case. So if they can't sign one of the free agent starters because they're yeared out of the market, like you're kind of saying, they're yeared out, then they go and they pivot to the trade market. There's a bunch of guys available potentially. They maybe package some of our younger prospects together and get a top end there, and then they sign on the free agent market one of those back end guys that to fill out like their lineup. And then I say they have to sign a bat. They have to sign a free agent bat. If they don't, I'll be very disappointed. So if they don't sign one of the Bregman, Schwarber, Bellinger, Alonso tier, I mean, they've got to sign an Arias or a O'Hearn or somebody back to do something to their lineup. They've got to have at least one more bat, no matter how they do it. And then as far as the bullpen, I'm not super concerned. They might add a piece, but either way, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I agree with you with the bullpen. I really do. I think that we're just going to piece things together. They may get another guy like I said, Taylor Rogers, whatnot. Like I'd be all about that. I mean, very effective last year. The Cubs had a couple guys that are very intriguing right-handed guys too. Um, as far as starters go, I do think that either. I mean, I was thinking they would. Maybe free agency, but between a trade and free agency, they'll end up with a top 2 to top 3 starter. And then I think they will sign another back end guy. Who was the guy that pitched in Arizona last year that we were talking about? Merrill.
Gallen?
Well, him, but the other one too. I was thinking back end more. Merrill
Oh,
Kelly.
yeah. Merrill Kelly.
37 years old, but you only need 1 year out of a back end guy, right? While you're letting, because hopefully Povich comes up in the second half, or Povich comes up next year after a whole year down in AAA. Same thing with McDermott. And then who else is down there? Brandon Young is down there. Like they have guys, and according to Mr. Steve Molesky, who was on our show, he says there's guys down there ready to come up here in the next year and a half. So if that's going to be the case, I still think you need to have your top of your rotation set and then bring the other guys in. That way you don't have to have 2 guys in there, just like the lineup. You don't have to have 2 guys trying to find their way while you're trying to win. And I think that's what it's all about. So my prediction would be like a Merrill Kelly type / Zach Gallen. If they're going to get Zach Gallen as their number 4 starter on a 1-year deal, give him 1 year prove it deal. I'm fine with it. Like, I mean, he had a pretty bad year and a half, right? But if you can get one with an option, $20 million 1 year, because you were basically a Cy Young the 1 year. So sure, based on that, come in and pitch as our number 4 starter. Even our number 3. I hope not our number 3, because I do think maybe they revisit Pablo Lopez as their number 3. If Pablo Lopez is your number 3, that's pretty good. The Joe Ryan, I mean, that would be nice. I think Joe Ryan might even be above the other 3 that are out there in free agency right now. But I guess if you put a gun to my head, I like Michael King, I think the best if he's healthy. I really do. But I'm not going to complain if they sign Framber or if they decide to go a different direction. But 2 starters and then a bat.
Are you okay if they sign Ranger Suarez? Is that a guy that you would consider in that top echelon?
I keep forgetting about Ranger Suarez. I think a lot of teams are going to be on him though, and I think he's going to get a contract a little more than what he probably should, because a lot of teams are going to be interested in what he can do. Not super flashy, just wins. He throws strikes.
He's a lefty too.
He's a lefty. They're magical. You know how they are.
Yep.
So, yeah, and so something along those lines, and I hope I'm trying not to be a homer here. I'm just trying to think realistically. And I really do think that they are going to go for it, as far as maybe, like you said, not all in, but as far as making the moves to be able to compete in the AL East, because you finished last and then so far, one of those teams got a lot better. The Red Sox are going to continue to get better, and the Yankees will probably make a big move or 2. So you have to get ahead of all of that just to get out of your division. So it'd be interesting to see. I'd be fine with any of the bats. I mean, more Bellinger, more Schwarber. Alonso would be nice, I guess. He's kind of, sorry, Mike, but out of all of them, I worry about the
He's going to mash you 45 taters, and that's all I know. That's tough in the middle of the lineup. But
don't you want Kyle Schwarber?
So the thing that worries me with Schwarber, he's just not like super athletic at all. Like I know that Alonso's not super athletic either, but like he also led off in Philly, and like I don't know how that fit. Like if you move him down in the order, does that fit his person? Like I don't know. It just I have a little bit of concern about that. Also, he's had superstars around him his entire career with Bryce Harper, and he had Rizzo when he was in Chicago. Like he's had guys that were better than him. And Gunnar might be, I don't know, but like, I just have a little bit of concern with him. I don't know, but I would not be unhappy if they signed Kyle Schwarber.
I guess that's the only thing that makes me nervous about Bellinger, like I said before, because of having Judge in that lineup. But again, he won an MVP in LA. He won, I mean, he resurrected his career out there in Chicago before he got traded to New York. I mean, and he hits the crap out of lefties. Very intriguing player there too. I do hope they sign one of them. I haven't been mentioning Bregman for a while because I don't know how it'll fit in. Just think you have too many infielders. And the Alonso situation also, for me, it's tough to see how he would fit in without moving somebody because of the logjam you have at first base. You have 4 guys if you bring him in, right? Him, Mountcastle, Basayo, and Mayo. And then if you throw Adley out there, which I wouldn't, but there's all kinds of. It's a big log jam.
Well, I think that's a plan A, plan B situation. Like if I sign Bregman, then I'm going to slide Westberg to first base, and I'm going to have him and Basayo, and he's going to DH a little bit, and that means I have to trade one of those other guys, like a Mayo, and maybe I trade for a pitcher, because if I got Bregman, maybe then I don't sign that Frontier starting pitcher. I end up trading for them instead, and it's just kind of one thing fits the other, and whatever move happens, and I think that's like if they're a good organization, they have to kind of approach it that way because they might not get the guy that they're targeting. So they have to have a way to pivot and go in a different direction and be flexible to trade or free agency.
I think that's why they did sign Mountcastle back because, again, $8 million isn't anything, right? It's nothing in Major League Baseball. I mean, it'd be nice for me. I'd be happy, but but it doesn't assure you of anything, right? So with that being said, I still think you could, if they figure out the guy they want, they shuffle things around. I mean, Mountcastle could be traded either with a couple other guys for something else or for a relief pitcher. I keep coming back to relief pitcher with some years, maybe some control or something, something along those lines. But yeah, Mike, I mean, we can do this all night long. I mean, we were supposed to come on here for 20 minutes. It has been 52 minutes. Again, I could go another 52 minutes, but we're just saying the same things over and over again now, I think. So I do hope that we can get back on here and share some more good news for you all. I mean, if you guys have any questions, please leave it on our Facebook page. Send us an email, do all that fun stuff. Mike, do you have anything else?
Nope. Just looking forward to talking about hopefully the Ravens bouncing back and some more wonderful Orioles news in the hot stove season. But I appreciate you guys listening in.
Yep. And next week, I'm going to share some more text messages that Mike has sent me in the past, just so that you all have that. Don't forget. I won't forget.
Sweet.
All right. For Michael Frisky, I'm Jason Weisbecker. You all have a great evening, and we'll see you next time.
Don't forget to subscribe to Dad Bods, Crabcakes, and Sports on Red Circle, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your free podcasts. And while you're at it, leave us a review. It really helps us out. We're trying to spread the good word about Baltimore sports far and wide. Follow us on social media for more behind-the-scenes actions, memes, and bad sports takes. You can find us at Dad Bods, Crabcakes, and Sports on Instagram, and Dad Bods, Crabcakes, and Sports on our Facebook page. Until next time, keep rocking those dad bods, eating those crab cakes, and never miss the game.